welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Galaxy today, and we're looking at the spate of human trafficking in Nigeria on the show this morning. We are being joined by the Director General for the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, and the person of Julie Oka Donley. Many thanks for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you for coming on the program. All right, let's start this way. First of all, let's take a holistic view into what human trafficking is. Let's talk about the broad spectrum of issues covered under the Prohibition Law.
Well, you can describe human trafficking or trafficking in persons as the act of actually recruiting, transporting, and harboring of persons generally through the use of various means like coercion, threats, deceit, sometimes even abduction, and for the main purpose of exploitation.
Okay.
Exploitation in this case can either be sexual exploitation, it can be for forced labor, and it can also be for organ harvesting, which is the most deadly of all.
Okay. Let's really understand it better. Who are the people at risk here when we talk about human trafficking? Is it just women, or is it children, or even boys and men?
Everyone is at risk. Women, children, and even men. Most of the time, people overlook the fact that men are even sometimes more vulnerable, you know, when it's in terms of trafficking. But men are actually being trafficked, even for sexual exploitation, for organ harvesting, as well as for forced labors on farms and all sorts of hard labor like that. Yeah.
But that is usually underreported.
Yes, it is underreported.
As with many things that regards men.
Yes.
But then let's look inwards before we take a broader look at trafficking. What form of protection is really available, you know, within Nigeria? Because one of the issues that comes under human trafficking is domestic servitude, and we see a lot of that play out almost on the daily in Nigeria. If you are not involved in it, maybe a neighbor is doing that, you see all of that, but then people really just turn the other eye or turn the other way and they don't report it. What form of protection really is available for us in Nigeria?
Well, you said it all already. People turn the other eye. The truth is that when it comes to domestic servitude, it's a very, very difficult crime to handle, in the sense that this happens behind closed doors, so to speak. And so, if people do not report it, then how does NAPTIP come in? So, but of course, when cases like these are reported to NAPTIP, we go straight in and we rescue the victims, and of course we prosecute the offenders.
Okay, you in your introduction you talked about forced labor. Does it also include situations where people go to the villages in the guise of getting people to come and help them with domestic chores and all of that? At the end of the day, the children are being forced to
House helps.
to sell and to do other things. Does that also cover it?
Yes, all that is part of child trafficking. The truth is, first of all, you cannot even employ a child that is under 13 years old, first of all. And if you employ a child that is over 13 years old, from 13 and above, you have to pay the wages. If you pay the wages of whoever is working with you to a third party, then of course that is slavery. Okay. Because a laborer is worthy of his or her wages. Okay. So when you begin to pay the wages of someone working with you to a third party, then you're already committing.
Even if that person is an agent, and you have like a contractual agreement.
Yes, you cannot pay an agent the salary of somebody who is working.
But that is what obtains today.
Yeah.
That's what obtains.
The best that can happen is to give the agent his commission. And that's where it ends. Whoever is working with you must be paid the salary, otherwise that is slavery. That's directly. Directly.
But we've seen situations where children are taken from the hinterlands to come to the cities to help, in quote, people in their houses. Before you know it, they are actually doing other stuff that are not even chores, and they're actually being paid, and the monies are even sent to their parents in the villages.
That's child trafficking as well. When you have children that you bring in, and then you make them to beg for money, all that is part of trafficking. Are you aware that some children actually used to beg? That's part of trafficking. You know, they use them for various purposes, various means. That's begging. Even if you have a child in your house, you must send the child to school. The child must go to school. You know, so this is where our awareness is coming up, so that a lot of people are guilty of this. Some are doing it ignorantly, some are aware that it is trafficking. So that's why we have to carry the message, the awareness, to create the awareness everywhere we go, to make people know that a lot of people are being trafficked within Nigeria. Because when you talk about trafficking, people tend to look at external
Maybe you
trafficking.
have to travel with
and they
a person
don't
or
realize
something,
that there's so much trafficking going on in
inwards,
Nigeria.
yes.
Amongst, in fact, and it cuts across all the states in Nigeria.
Okay.
So it's not just an external problem, it's also an internal problem.
Which is why we have to talk about how humongous, you know, this issue is. How big really is it? What statistics is available in your agency, you know, so that Nigerians can really, you know, be faced with how big this issue is?
You know, the problem with trafficking is that it's something that occurs by the minute.
Okay.
So when you start putting statistics on it, it's like, as I'm speaking with you now, it's changing. Every second, every minute, people are being trafficked. Now we're talking in the thousands. People are going through the borders. People are being trafficked from one state to another. Maybe from Kwara State, as we speak now, there's a truckload. People have gone even so evil in the sense that they traffic these victims, boys and girls, even in containers, covered containers. Sometimes before they arrive at their destination, they are all gone. So this thing is happening by the minute, in thousands, in their thousands.
So what measures are in place to fight this, seeing that, you know, it is something that is in real time? What measures are in place by your agency to fight this?
First of all, NAPTIP does not work alone.
Okay.
We work with all the other law enforcement agencies.
Okay.
We work with the Road Safety Commission. They are the ones on the road. They are the ones that when they see something and they suspect that it is trafficking, they call NAPTIP.
Okay.
If the police also arrest people of suspicious nature in any suspicious situation, they call NAPTIP as well. So we work with all the various sister agencies, and that's how NAPTIP is able to get information. We also have a surveillance team sometimes that go out to areas that are, you know, are hot spots, and they also survey and come back and start investigating.
Okay.
So that's how we work.
Okay, right. Speaking of sister agencies that work with NAPTIP, let's bring the police into this discussion. We're taking it straight to Ibadan, or your state. We are being joined by the Commissioner of Police in the state, Abiodun Odude. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today. All right, we're discussing. All right, welcome back. We apologize for that brief break. We are moving straight now to Ibadan, on your state. We are being joined by the Commissioner of Police in the state, Abiodun Odude. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today, this Thursday morning. We're looking at the spate of human trafficking in Nigeria. If you can hear us, the first question would be that of boundary crime. The DG talked about collaborations between the police and the road safety corps as regards that. What is the incident rate as regards boundary crime, as regards human trafficking in Nigeria?
Sit down now. Is it?
All right, I will still try and re-establish connection with our studios in Ibadan. Let's continue here in Lagos.
All right, we still have in our Lagos studios Julie Oka-Donley, who is the Director General for NAPTIP. Now, let's talk about the laws, because what we've realized, you know, with other agencies who are bothered with other concerns is the fact that there are the laws there, but implementation is always a big deal. Now, when we talk about implementing the laws that regards to trafficking in persons, you know, how expedited are these laws, especially in terms of getting justice or prosecuting offenders?
When you're talking of expedition, of trial, of cases in courts, sometimes these cases are very long, but that has been put to rest.
Okay.
Because we have now dedicated judges in Lagos and Abuja who are going to be charged with the responsibility of trying trafficking cases in order to make it as short and as quick as possible.
Okay.
And
All right,
also in Ibadan, I think, yeah.
in Ibadan. Okay, I know you've had lots of collaborations in the past and also in recent times. Can you talk about them as regards the international relations? What are the issues right now on ground, and what have you done so far as regards collaborating with countries in Europe? Because that's where most Nigerians have been sent to.
Well, the truth is we collaborate with almost all the countries. Well, if you're referring to the countries where trafficking is most endemic, countries like Italy,
Yes.
UK, America, Germany, Spain, France, we collaborate with all of those countries. As a matter of fact, some of our officers just returned from Heathrow and Gatwick airports, where we had joint operations with the UK border police. So that's the kind of collaboration we have. I just returned from Italy, where I had a meeting with the head of the anti-mafia police as well as the head of the police. You know, we had extensive deliberations, and for us to have to see the possibility of having joint operations with NAPTIP officials at the airports and even at the seaports and the borders. So that's the kind of collaboration we have with all of these international partners. You know, sometimes they help us with technical, you know, like training, they give us equipments and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if Ibadan is ready. We'll try and connect with them, but let's take a quick break, or we'll be right back. Do join us again.
Welcome back to the program Galaxy. Today we're still looking at the spate of human trafficking in Nigeria. We're going straight to Ibadan now, where we have on standby the Commissioner of Police for Oyo State, the person of Abiodun Odude. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on the program. Now, quickly, let's talk about the police and how effective really you as an arm of security in the country really is in terms of protecting the citizenry from trafficking and also being trafficked. How effective is the Nigeria Police Force?
Police force, generally in the country, is the primary agency that is in charge of control of crime. So whether it's human trafficking or any other crime, we are there to assist, and we have been working very closely with NAPTIP and other agencies for that matter to make sure that crime is brought to the minimal level in this country.
Let's look at another angle to this. When we talk of human trafficking, it's not just an intrastate stuff. It happens interstate. So far, what has the police done as regards the trafficking of people from one state into the other, specifically in the southwest region?
You see, Ibadan is the central point in the southwest. This is the former headquarters of the western region. And what we do in this state is to give support to the neighboring states. But like I said, we've never had a case of human trafficking. We've been lucky about that. But what we do here is to intercept crime that is committed in the neighboring states. We have recovered so many vehicles that are stolen around here, not necessarily in Oyo State, but in neighboring states. When they pass through here and we get information, we intercept them and arrest the people. But as regards human trafficking, we have been relatively lucky. And we've not had that here. We've not had it at all.
How about internally reported cases? For instance, maybe someone who has a house help and, you know, is using that house help unjustly. You know what I mean by unjustly? In the manner he or she should not. You know, what role does the police actually play in that regard?
like I said, there is no crime that the police will shy away from. We are involved in all crimes. We have specialized agencies which deal with specific crimes, like drugs, like human trafficking and all that. But in Oyo State, like I said, we do have reported cases. We can't make cases when there are no cases. We've had no reports. If those things are taking place, people are mistreating their house helps and all that, it's not reported to us.
Would be another recent trend that that has been observed here in the southwest and some part of the southeast and south, where women are actually being kept for the sole purpose of actually making babies for some principles, as in they are just housed, they are impregnated by various men. At the end of the day, they make babies, and these children are being sold. So, what has the police done as regards busting gangs in such acts?
Anywhere that occurs is a crime. To keep women to make babies and sell them is a crime. But I keep on saying it, that Oyo State is a very peaceful place, and we have been extremely, extremely lucky. We have had no reported case of women being kept in a place to go and make babies and they are sold. None of that at all has been reported in Oyo State. But where it is reported, the police has taken action, and the women and the people who operate those houses have been arrested, and in most cases they are prosecuted in court.
Now, please, let's bring it back to our studios here in Lagos. Now, I want to know how seamless, the relationship between the police and NAPTIP really is. Where does the function of the police end, and where does NAPTIP actually start?
Well, like the Commissioner of Police just said a few minutes ago, their duty is to ensure that they prevent crime generally. While NAPTIP is mandated to prevent the crime of trafficking in persons.
I understand that. What I'm trying to say is, when the police does make an arrest of maybe something regarding to human trafficking, something like that, where really does their job end? And
their job
at what
ends
point?
At arresting and handing over to NAPTIP, and we'll take over
and then you take it from there.
Investigation, we prosecute, we investigate, we prosecute, and we take it over. And I just want to make a quick correction here. Oyo State is a very endemic state when it comes to trafficking in persons.
Really?
As a matter of fact, we got a conviction just a month ago. It is a source state, and it is also a destination state. Very endemic for that matter when it comes to trafficking in persons.
Okay. All right. Now for NAPTIP, we've been hearing about how proactive, that agency really is in preventing trafficking in persons. And I dare say the people who actually partake in this crime have also begun to adopt new methods, to outsmart outsmart agencies such as yours. Now, what new measures really have you put in place, to identify these offenders and also the people who are being trafficked, especially the high-risk persons?
Well, I would say the new measures we put in place actually are having our NAPTIP officers at the international airport in Lagos.
Okay.
And we also plan to replicate that in all the major international airports in the country. We are also looking at the possibility of working with the Nigeria Immigration Services at the borders, because this is mainly where they go through. So if we work together, because we already have skilled officers who are trained particularly to identify potential victims of trafficking and traffickers. So we'll work together in that regard, and we man all of these various posts. I think will be a step ahead.
Do we have cases, do we have cases of people who agree to be trafficked?
Well, the truth is, most of the time, nobody sets out to agree to be trafficked. They are given the impression they are either going to get jobs over there. Some of them think, okay, well, I'm going to do, even if, for example, let me use a lady here. Even if the lady thinks she's going out to prostitute to make money for herself, she doesn't necessarily want to be trafficked. She does not know that the moment she gets there, her passport is taken from her.
Okay, she doesn't know the
Doesn't know
extent.
She does not
Extend the goal.
understand
Okay.
it, and
Okay.
then she starts working
Mm.
for these traffickers forever. So she doesn't understand. So I don't think anyone sets out to be trafficked, because everybody wants to be paid to be her wages, his or her wages.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, let us talk about some of your success stories and some of the rescue operations that you've done so far in recent times.
Well, in recent times, we've been able to apprehend, like through the help of the police, through the help of the road safety, been able to apprehend some children in Kano. We've made arrest and rescue as well of children even in Benue State, in Minna, Niger State as well. In so many states, we have cases like that where we're able to rescue potential victims. Even at the airport recently, we're able to rescue about 5 children who were on their way out of the country. And you know, we have so many cases like that recently. We have so many cases in the last few months where we've been able to rescue potential victims of trafficking. And as a matter of fact, even in Ibadan, we got a conviction of a husband and wife, 7 years and 5 years respectively. This was just a month ago. Yeah.
I don't understand. The husband is 7 years old.
Yeah, 7 years conviction, and the wife 5 years.
Oh, okay,
What about the 7 years
conviction.
conviction?
Okay.
For
Yes,
trafficking.
All right, for trafficking.
Yes, right there in Ibadan.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about what work really has NAPTIP done in terms of prevention, you know, enlightenment programs, especially in the rural areas, so that people can begin to understand, you know, what it means to be trafficked, especially when those people who commit this crime come to you and then they make that proposal. How are they able to identify that?
Yes, NAPTIP officers have come up with a strategy. It's a total package on awareness,
Okay.
prevention, sensitization program. In the rural areas, because this is where the victims are sourced from, we have meetings like town hall meetings
Okay.
with the community leaders,
Okay.
the women leader, the youth leader.
Okay.
Just like that, all those in authority, even the pastors, the imams, will come together and tell them, we begin to educate them.
Okay.
We give them tips on the signs, you know, that tells you this is a case of potential human trafficking, and the numbers to call when they suspect that something like that is about to take place. So in some of these rural areas now, they have formed some vigilante groups, so that when something similar is occurring, they personally apprehend and hand over to NAPTIP. So
Okay,
we're on top of it in all the rural areas. Yeah.
All right, let's return to Ibadan quickly and round off with them. We still have the Commissioner of Police in the state, Abiodun Odude. Let us talk about advice right now on the part of the police. What would you say to people who actually stand the risk of being trafficked, and how would you advise them as regards protecting themselves?
The people who have been trafficked, no, the problem, like I said, is that the police is involved in human trafficking and all crimes for that matter. What we'll advise is that people are educated. They should know, most of these traffickers, I want to believe, some of them are being brought from neighboring states. They are not Nigerians. Some are Nigerians, but people should make reports. Like I said, the police is widespread, and if a report is made to us, we will immediately take some action and report to NAPTIP. I'm happy to hear that there was a conviction about a month ago. That's a good one. And we are available to work with all those who are involved in human trafficking. We will give them all the support that they require, and we'll work together as security agencies of government.
Say many thanks to the Commissioner of Police in Oyo State, who joined us live to discuss this issue of human trafficking. CP Abiodun Odude, many thanks for being a part of Galaxy today, this Thursday morning.
All right, back to the studios. Now let's talk about where your job actually ends in terms of reintegration of victims, especially those who've been sexually exploited? What more do you do for such people?
Well, our job is a very, very wide job, in the sense that when the victims are rescued, we have what we call shelters or safe houses,
Okay.
where we keep the rescued victims. We first of all counsel them. Sometimes there are health issues. We test them for diseases. We
Okay.
treat them in the
Okay.
process. Now we try to rehabilitate them. You know, we try to reintegrate them gradually. But before that process, we find out what they want to do. For those of them who want some technical skill acquisition, we do that. For those who want to go to school, we send them to school. We have graduates who have gone through the shelters. We have some who are still in school. And then we now reunite them with their families. And then we keep monitoring them for a period of time.
Okay.
So our job doesn't end at the shelters. Our job extends after the lives of those victims have moved on. We monitor them for a period of like 2 years, and
Okay.
then we gradually back off.
Okay, but would you say that in recent times that the spate has actually reduced as regards some countries like Italy, which is like a hub? You know, people from the southern part of the country, especially from Edo and other states, actually moving towards that country. In recent times, has it reduced?
I don't think so. I think it has increased drastically.
Wow.
In terms of reduction, I would say it has reduced because some of them do not get to their destination points any
Okay.
longer.
Okay.
They are accosted in Libya. Some of them are brought back. Those that are lucky to be brought back are brought
They
back.
don't go through the regular
Yeah,
routes.
those that are brought back are lucky to be brought back are brought back. Those that die on the Mediterranean Sea perish on the Mediterranean Sea.
Or even in
Those
the
that
deserts.
yes, or in the deserts. Those that are arrested in Libya are languishing in various jails cut across Libya. It hasn't reduced at all. I
So
think it's
what
an
is the Nigerian
increase.
government doing in that regard, especially for Nigerian nationals who are stranded, you know, in foreign countries?
The Nigerian government is collaborating with international organizations like IOM, UN, and all of that to bring them back. The voluntary returnees, they come back every day. Like in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be having nothing less than maybe 120, 150 returnees from Libya coming in, you know, every day, you know, and it's been going on for a long time.
So is that a punishable offense when you were...
No, victims are not.
They are not
Victims
punished.
are not treated
They
as
are
criminals.
criminals, okay.
rehabilitated.
Yes,
All right.
they are not treated as criminals. They are victims, and they cannot be treated as criminals. So there's no punishment for them.
So when they come back home, they're rehabilitated and reintegrated into the society.
Yeah.
What about the case of children? How do they go? How do you guys go about children?
Yeah, we put them in the shelters.
same place, okay.
The same thing. We treat them. We counsel
Put them in schools.
Yes, we put them in schools,
Okay.
and then until
Yeah.
they're grown enough, then we reconcile them back with their families.
The families.
All right, you know, we can't really have done justice to discussing the issue of human trafficking if we perhaps don't go to the root cause, which in many quarters is
Poverty.
seen as poverty. You know, that is why, especially concerning women and children, that is why a lot of women would, you know, just give out their children like that when they know they're going to be introduced into hard labor and all of that. I want to know how really conscientious really is the government really in fighting this issue of human trafficking, starting from the root cause?
Well, that is a very big question. And I'm sure the government is trying to do something about job creation and small loans for small businesses to assist people with small businesses. But the government has come up with different kinds of programs for young entrepreneurs and things like that. There are lots of programs government has put in place. BOI, I know, for example, they have a lot of technical acquisition skills that they offer. You know, the truth is, you see, when you want to talk about trafficking, there are so many factors responsible for trafficking.
Okay.
Poverty is definitely not an excuse, even though those are sometimes factors when it comes to where it affects the parents. Maybe the parents of the child are really poor and someone takes advantage of the vulnerability of such a parent and offers to take the child and send to school or to give a good job.
Yeah.
There are definitely cases like that.
Oh.
There are also cases where we have peer pressure.
Okay.
Someone sees a neighbor and says, oh, my neighbor has built a house for her mother, why can't I do the same? And that person now becomes very greedy and desperate and thinks that it is all out there. And they are ready. You know, some people actually sell their property to be trafficked.
Yeah.
Because they do not know that they are going to be trafficked. They genuinely believe that there's a better life outside Nigeria for them. And in the process, they get trafficked. How do you get trafficked? You go to a country where you do not have the legal right to remain, where you do not have the legal right to work. And so anybody takes advantage of you because you're highly vulnerable.
Yeah.
So this is how trafficking starts. Some of them do it as a result of, you know, just greed. You know, there are different factors, peer pressure, pressure even from the parents. Sometimes the parents are the ones who push their children. Say, can't you see this person's daughter? She's doing very well. She built a house for her. What are you doing? You know, so there are different factors, really.
Okay.
There's not just one straight cut
Answer
poverty.
to it.
Yeah, some people are trafficked even from the university. Are you aware?
Yes.
So, I mean, why you talk, I mean, what would they say? Will they say it was poverty?
Or
You
illiteracy.
know, or illiteracy?
Okay, well,
You know?
there is a comment slash question from Gordon from Ibadan. I'll just read them verbatim. He says, human trafficking has taken different styles, and nowadays you hear work and live in Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and a lot of them.
Yeah.
Recently, Saudi Arabia deported some Nigerians. Okay, he now asked, what are you doing specifically, that's NAPTIP, as regards those offering Nigerians work and live in those Arab countries?
That's a very good question. As a matter of fact, we have our investigation officers right now working, and they have been charged with the responsibility of engaging the authorities to find out, like especially like the Ministry of Labor, to find out these certificates that these agencies are claiming to have been given them the right to send people to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has become very problematic. As a matter of fact, when I get back to Abuja, I'm going to have a meeting with the ambassador of Saudi Arabia because we need to find out how possible it is to give people the documents or the approval to take the permits to take our people from Nigeria to go and work as house helps in Saudi Arabia. They go out in their thousands every day, and this has become a huge problem for us. So when we finish with our internal investigations, we'll know the next step to take.
Okay. Now let's go back a bit to the law now. The convicted offenders, what's their lot really? Especially in terms of jail terms and all
jail
that.
terms now, it's not less than 5 years.
5 years.
Okay.
Yes. So you're going to be convicted for not less than 5 years. Previously, they could get off 6 months or with the option of a fine.
Okay.
Now, you're going to be jailed for nothing less than 5 years, depending on the severity of the offense. You can see someone else got 7 years, and plus the imposition of a fine.
Okay.
And we're not going to stop. It doesn't stop there. Your assets are seized. Your money is freezed because it belongs to the victims of trafficking. That money goes to the fund, the Victims of Trafficking Trust Fund, for the victims.
Okay.
The assets also goes to the victims of trafficking trust.
Your
fund
victims,
as well.
that person's victims.
Yes,
Okay.
victims.
Okay.
You know, of trafficking.
Okay.
So all that is stripped from you. You're stripped of all that. So you cannot even come out of jail and go back to enjoy it.
yeah.
You're
Like
stripped of
deterrence,
it.
Okay.
Your international passport is taken from you immediately, and it is only released if the president grants you a presidential pardon.
Okay,
Wow.
let us look at
Okay.
another angle.
So you cannot leave Nigeria ever again.
Wow.
And you are named and you're shamed.
That's a very strong
Yeah.
deterrent. Let us look at the new angles, the new dimensions of, we've heard about human trafficking, specifically organ harvesting.
Oh, that is the new one. And it's, you know, let me say something here. Organ harvesting is something that's been going on for a long time. But unfortunately, people always think it was a ritual thing. There's nothing like ritual. But the only thing now is that it has taken another dimension. It is going in the thousands, and it happens daily. Now they've moved away from sexual exploitation or even forced labor. They are concentrating more on organ harvesting because it's faster money, it's easier, it's safer. They abduct people, and nobody is safe. Everyone
is it consensual?
It's no.
Okay.
You can be abducted.
abducted.
That's
Yeah,
the
they
point
don't
I'm
know.
making for that
Oh.
purpose.
Oh.
Yes, you can be
Wow.
abducted. Sometimes you hear someone was kidnapped and the person was killed. You don't know why the person was killed. The person may have been kidnapped for the purpose of organ harvesting.
Wow.
Yes. So we're also trying to engage surgeons now so that they can begin to investigate fellow surgeons, because this cannot be done without
the
a
help
surgeon.
It can be done in
Yes.
isolation.
So we are
That's
engaging
true.
surgeons now to look out for those that have found themselves in this evil practice of organ harvesting.
Wow.
It's very huge. So parents and the general public should be aware
Okay.
and not think that human trafficking is just about sexual exploitation or forced labor. It's gone beyond that, and nobody is safe. So all hands must be on deck.
All right. As time is fast going, let's review some of your cases, especially the most challenging or the worst of cases you've handled in recent times. Let's review some of them.
Well, every case has its own unique
Peculiarities,
challenge, peculiarity. I'll say for me, even though I wasn't on board then, the most challenging I would think of is the one that took about 14 years
14
to
years.
try, yes. And finally, conviction, the man was convicted and is in jail. For me, I think that's the most challenging, because if a case is tried in court and the perpetrators are convicted, in a timely manner, then it's okay. As long as conviction we get conviction, that's the most important thing for me. So I think...
Okay.
14 years, that's a long time.
That's a long
for
time.
case.
But this one is from another viewer. I think just a follow-up to what you said. He's asking specifically, why or how is poverty not an excuse to human trafficking?
What I'm saying is, if you deliberately traffic a child and you know, except you do not know that this child is going to be trafficked, you cannot use poverty as an excuse to traffic a child.
Okay.
That's my point. Or to traffic yourself. If you are aware. For example, some people are aware. They tell them, look, I'm taking you to Italy, but you're going to work, you're going to work for me first for 5 years before you get your freedom.
Okay.
Then of course the person knows that this is a case of trafficking. And the person says, well, because of poverty. That's no excuse, because there are other options. You can engage yourself in something better. That's the point I make. It's not an excuse. If that is not to say we're not calling on the government to provide jobs for the general public and to make lives more meaningful or easier or better for everybody. But what I'm saying is that as much as poverty is a factor, it should not be an excuse for trafficking.
Okay, I want you to still hammer on that factor, because what we have lately is a case where young people would always just want to travel abroad without even having any mindset of what they are going to do. They always feel that the grass is, the lawn is greener
on the other side.
Well, that's where the awareness comes up. You know, that's why we keep telling them everywhere we can, you know, that there's nothing on the other side. They need to find what to do in Nigeria. Believe in yourselves. Believe in Nigeria. There's no place like home.
True.
You go somewhere else, you do not even have the legal right to stay there in the first place. You cannot work. And so when someone offers you something, you run with the person without knowing you're running into a pit of hellfire. So it's better for them to stay here. And that is why we're calling on all the governors of the various states to create something for their citizens, because these guys all come from a community before Nigeria. So all the state governments are enjoined to come up with programs to help the youths, to stop them from going out of Nigeria.
Okay. Perhaps for someone who lives abroad or who's been trafficked abroad, and then finds out he or she is in a dilemma, as in is being exploited and all of that. Is there somewhere other than the embassy, you know, that the person can actually run to? to get
numbers to
help.
call.
I will advise that the first place to run to is the Nigerian embassy.
The embassy.
In any country you find
Okay.
yourself being trafficked,
Okay.
as long as you know you're trafficked and you want to come back. And of course, there's help. We have our hotlines or our helplines.
Okay.
And the numbers are 070 3000 203. We also have 0800 2255 627847. Can I take it again?
Take it again.
No, yeah, please do.
070 3000 203. 0800 2255 627847. You can call NAPTIP anytime, anywhere, and NAPTIP will respond immediately.
Okay, well, there you have it. Just in case you feel you know, or I've seen someone who needs help in one way or the other. Those are the numbers you can actually call, and NAPTIP will be out there to rescue.
Really, it's been a privilege having you on the show. We've been
Thank you so
hearing
much.
so many good stories of the amount of work NAPTIP has been doing in terms of prohibiting human trafficking. Thank you so much
you
for
so,
coming.
so, so
Thank you
much.
for having
Yeah,
me. My
all right.
pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's been the Director General for NAPTIP, that's the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, Mrs. Julie Oka Donley. Thank you again for joining us. Also, many thanks to the Commissioner of Police or your state, Abiodun Odude, who joined us from Ibadan. Remember, it is your responsibility as a citizen, you know, to watch out for the next person. You see anybody that you feel is being exploited or has been trafficked or is about to be trafficked, it is your responsibility to report to the right authorities. Thank you for watching the show today. My name is Patience Bello Okafor. Have yourself a good day.
And I'm Justin Academy. Don't forget the number to call when you have